live. Going live on the Facebook.
On the Facebook. Hey guys, welcome back to Testing Normal, episode 60 dose.
This is
Curtis. This is a podcast where we talk about anything and everything we want to.
That is what we do here.
Today, guys, is a pretty freaking fantastic day. We have a very special guest joining us today. And Mrs. Cayse Blankenship. She's a friend of mine that I went to high school with. And then basically, she went traveling the world. And I haven't seen her since then. And so I'm hanging out with her on virtual Skype tonight. I
contacted her just the other day, and she was nice enough to come and talk to us about stuff that we haven't been through. So we're excited, and I'm going to bring her on now.
Yeah, super, super honored to have her on, buddy. Bring her on, buddy. Bring her on. There she is! Bring her on. There she is! Hey, Cayse. Hey, Cayse. Thanks for coming on.
Hi. You're welcome.
Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate it. You're welcome.
Appreciate it. So Cayse is one of the unique people in Oregon because she was diagnosed with COVID-19 and actually had a pretty intense battle, and she was super kind enough to come on tonight and talk about some of her experiences. And we have several questions. that we want to ask her. But yeah, so Cayse, real quick though, Cayse, kind of a little bit more about you, who you are, You're kind of in the medical field as well. Working at what do you do in medical field? Go ahead and tell what do you do in medical field?
I'm a medical assistant. I assist surgeon in urology. When he's not in the OR, it's basically his patients that come in for post-ops stuff like that.
Awesome.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, very cool. Awesome.
Just a second,
yeah,
guys.
very cool. Go for it, man.
We've got an echo going on here.
Video.
I'm trying to figure out why. Somewhere.
Probably me.
Oh, it's possible. I'm going to mute. Or, Curtis, do you have Facebook up on your computer?
No. And I have my volume turned down on my phone. Every now and then we'll have technical issues. That's okay.
Should I use my headphones?
You can try your headphones. You can try your headphones.
Okay.
I think I fixed it.
Okay. Oh.
Does it sound good to you, Jordan?
Okay. I think we're good.
Awesome. Cool. Awesome.
So, no, wait, Curtis, it is you.
So,
there's something, you're echoing. It is whenever you talk.
Boom. Oh, shit. I don't know what to do about that. Shit.
Try it.
Hello? Does it sound like an echo now? I don't think it sounds echoey. I just listened to it. It sounds okay to me.
Keep talking.
It's okay.
You can talk.
Okay. So, we'll go back to it. So anyways, Cayse works in medical field, urology, medical assistant, and during this whole like crazy outbreak, word on the street, right? Cayse, had you been hearing much about the outbreak, like kind of before you actually started getting sick, or was it like, were you at the forefront and people were like, and you didn't know why you were sick?
Oh no, they were checking temperatures every 4 hours when I got sick. So it had been going on for maybe almost a month before I got sick.
Okay. And then, so what happened? Like, how were you just hanging out at home? You started getting a sore throat, or what were how did your symptoms start for you?
So it was really weird because, like I said, the hospital I work at, when we walk in, they check our temperature.
Okay.
And then we go into our clinic, and in the clinic, we're checking our temperature every, 4 hours. So basically I kind of had a runny nose the last couple of days, but no fever, no cough. And then it was like 11 o'clock in the afternoon, and my chest started feeling really tight. and I've never experienced that. So I just went to my manager and I was like, I kind of have a runny nose and my chest is kind of tight right now.
Oh,
and
yeah.
he was just like, okay, we need to send you home. Like, you have to go home. Any kind of symptoms, they were sending everybody home.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then, so still no fever.
This is all day one?
Day one.
Okay.
Whoa.
And that was at o'clock.
Whoa.
And so, yeah, on the way home, I was like, I don't know. I just don't feel very good. Like all of a sudden, I started coughing. And so I called my doctor and I'm like, hey, I'm in healthcare. I'm kind of showing symptoms, but I still don't have a fever. Like, I just had this cough, and it's a weird dry cough. And within 2 hours, I was coughing so much, I couldn't catch my breath. He had me go to Cayse in Beaverton, and then they
Kaiser
tested.
Permanente.
Yeah.
Okay.
They tested me there, and then they're like, go wait in your car, and we're going to get you an inhaler to kind of pass the time before we get your test back, because it's going to take 24 hours.
Right.
So I'm walking to my car and I turn back around because I'm like, no, I know my oxygen is low. Like, I'm dizzy. I cannot catch my breath, and I need oxygen. And so they brought me around the hospital and like wheeled me into a room secluded from the rest of the hospital. It seemed like a janitor's closet, honestly.
Oh, whoa.
And I mean, it was just this little box. There wasn't a bed, there wasn't a desk, and they just wheeled me in there. They brought in,
Whoa.
checked my stats, and my oxygen had been down to like 81 or something.
What?
And
Wow.
and this is all within 2 hours of just a tightness in my chest.
Do you have asthma? Do you have a history of any respiratory issues?
Nope.
Okay. Wow, that's wild.
Yeah. And so yeah, I was in that hospital for about 2 hours. No, not even 2 hours, an hour and a half, say. And they're like, we have to transfer you to Hillsborough. That's where we're trying to, keep the COVID patients. So they brought me by ambulance, and I was still on oxygen.
Wow.
Brought me by ambulance to the Hillsborough Kaiser. And then I was there for another couple of hours. The doctor, it was just really scary just because, everybody was in hazmat suits, and there's
were they? They were fully suited up, huh?
Yeah, fully suited. Only one nurse was like in the room with me. Nobody else was allowed in the room. When they did the chest x-ray, they did it through the door. So they had put like a thing in the back of me, my bed, and then the room had these big windows, and then the x-ray went through like the window, basically.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Okay.
It was.
That's unique. I haven't seen them do that before, or I haven't experienced that before.
Yep, they just put this. It was like a mobile X-ray machine, and they just like put it right next to the window, and
through the glass. They shot the picture through the glass.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's interesting.
So I missed. Maybe you didn't say how long ago was this? It was like what date was that started taking place?
That was the Wednesday. I think it was the 19th of March.
Okay.
It was like a couple of days.
So really early on then. Early on.
Yeah. And even the doctor who came down, he's like, listen, you don't really have a fever right now. Like, you probably have a fever because you've been coughing so much. But even that, I think it was like 103 or something, or 104.
Pretty good.
And then, but then, they gave me fluids. They gave me some coughing medicine. They gave me like codeine for my cough. And once we got my cough under control, my oxygen went back up. My heart rate was better because my heart rate was going pretty fast as well. So once I got the cough under control, that was like my main symptom.
Yeah.
Jeez. So did they? And at that time, they didn't know, right? They didn't know that you were going to test positive at that point because it had been only like a few hours, basically, right? And then were they saying, okay, we're going to keep you here for? They're like, okay, we need to keep observing you, or were they like, we don't know if this is going to be positive? What were they kind of saying?
They said I wasn't really matching the symptoms because I didn't have a fever.
Okay.
So they were treating it as an upper respiratory infection.
Okay.
Wow.
So they
Interesting.
Yeah. And they gave me an inhaler and they gave me some codeine. And they're like,
yeah, keep going. Sorry.
They're like, call us if you can't breathe, basically.
So you were basically, they transferred you to the other hospital, admitted you.
Yep.
And then they said in the same day, they said, we don't know if your COVID tests are going to be positive. We think it's more likely a viral upper respiratory tract infection. And then they sent you home?
Yep.
Or did they on the same day?
Yep.
Wow.
Later.
Did they want you to be on steroids? Did they put you on steroids or anything? Wow. Crazy. And so they sent you home by yourself. Did they give you or what?
Yeah, they said treat it like it is COVID, as in keep yourself separated.
Right.
Okay.
And so my kids, I had called, I had the ambulance driver, or not the driver, but one of the medics call my sister and kind of tell her what was going on. Because this happened so fast. I had a runny nose and a cough.
Yeah.
And then boom.
And so, she picked up the boys, and my oldest went to my cousin's because my sister's pregnant. So just in case.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So he went to my oldest went to my cousin's, and then my youngest went to his dad's. So.
Okay. So you went home, and then were you feeling better at that time, or were you still feeling pretty short of breath?
No, I mean, my chest was super tight. But I didn't feel like I couldn't breathe. It was just uncomfortable, like just tightness and weight on my chest. But as far as the breathing, the cough medicine was helping a lot.
Purple drink.
Yeah.
Lil Wayne's drink was working real good. Yeah. Thanks, Lil Wayne. Yeah, that's hilarious. So you get home, you're still feeling like you have a cough, and then you go to sleep that night, you wake up the next day.
Yeah.
What's going on?
They told me that if it was positive, a doctor would be calling me. And then if it was negative, then a nurse was going to call me and give me some more instructions on a respiratory infection.
Okay.
So I pass out.
Wow.
And I get a phone call at like 10 a.m. And I had just woken up. And I mean, it felt like the worst hangover of my life.
Oh, yeah.
I'll bet.
And I was just like, what? Who is calling me? And they're like, oh, it's Dr. So-and-so. I'm like, shit.
Oh, no, you know it. Oh, no.
I was like, no. She's like, no. I need to verify your birthday. Like, why? What are you going to tell me? And she's like, can you verify your birthday for me? And I was like, yeah. So I told her my birthday, and she was just like, your COVID test came back positive. And I was like, I started crying because I was like, who did I just who did I touch in the last 24 hours?
Right.
Like, we don't know anything. I was definitely around my 9-year-old son, like I have to call everybody. I have to call my work. There was patients that I saw. It was
totally.
And a lot of the patients, I mean, 90% are just out of chemo, going into they're very compromised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you call your work, and are they like, oh shit, okay, stay home, don't come in? Or are they like, we have to call everybody now?
So I don't really know the steps that they took.
Did they test
you had other worries?
The other employees at your work?
They didn't test anybody else.
Wow, that's surprising.
Yeah. So so I work in a separate clinic. I work in the hospital, but we're not owned by the hospital. We just use their OR.
Okay.
And so we kind of have our own rules, HR, and yeah. So I really don't know. When I called my manager when I was in the hospital and just told her they're testing me. I don't even know what the hell's going on because I felt fine this morning. I'm so sorry I came into work. I, you know, and she's like, no, just, let me know what the test. And so I called her the next day and I'm like, it's positive.
I'm sorry.
She's like, it's okay. I'm like, oh, I just got everybody sick. And she's like, it is. Like,
oh my gosh, Cayse, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean,
so how are you feeling the next day? You were, still feeling like hungover a little bit. Did you kind of continue to just start slowly feeling better? Or did you go in waves? Did it get worse?
It was definitely waves. Like I thought I was getting better. And so basically what they told me was that infectious disease, and my doctor told me that after you test positive, you have to wait 7 days. And then without any medication or any kind of assistance of feeling better, like you have to wait another 72 hours to say, be around anybody else.
Right.
Like family members and stuff like that. So it was the 6th day, and it's the longest that I've ever been away from my kids too.
Oh,
and
man.
It was like the 6th day, and I was like, I feel pretty good this morning. Like tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow is like the 7th day, blah, blah, blah. And I freaking end up back in ER on the 6th day because that cough started. I knew. I called my doctor, and he was like, you need to come in. Like, we need to evaluate you. So they did another chest x-ray. The chest x-ray was still fine. And then, put me on oxygen again.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you're trying to rush this. Just chill. Just like let your body do what it needs to do.
Mm.
And I was like, well, I really felt great this morning. He's like, what'd you do? And I'm like, laundry.
I gotta do laundry, yeah.
Yeah.
So with your oxygen, you said they put you on oxygen when you were at the hospital. You went back to the ER. Did they want to send you home with oxygen, or were they just thinking we need to get the coughing under control?
Yeah, just the coughing. And a lot of that was I am no way, shape, or form a doctor at all. But I was like, this is what helped me last time I was here. There's just nobody knew what the heck this was. I mean, I to tell them that my inhaler actually made me feel worse.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, okay, well, don't use it. And I'm like, okay.
Okay. Got
it. Done.
Sure.
Yeah.
So did when you went back to the ER the second time, did they want to, or did they like say, okay, you need to be totally separated from everybody else? They try to how did they have you check? Because they knew you were positive, right? So coming back in, were they concerned about that?
So I went through the emergency room, and the Hillsborough Cayse Permanente, they were pretty good at separating. Like there was only COVID patients on the ER floor. Okay. And they just separated who might have it, symptoms, and there's a lot of rearranging. So when I walked in, I went to the door and I had a mask on and everything. And I was like, they're like, COVID symptoms? I'm like, no, I have COVID. And they're like, COVID symptoms? You're symptomatic? I'm like, I have COVID.
Like, yes, but also.
I got COVID. What do you need me to do?
But it's so crazy. At that time, very few people could get tested, right? And so like 90%, 99% of the population couldn't get tested. So you're right. Like they were like, symptoms, you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And even, I was even surprised that they tested me as fast as, it literally took 15 minutes, 20 minutes for me. And the doctor's like, you need to come in. And I'm like, okay. Like, and then I don't know if there's something in my throat. Like at that time I was like, I hope this isn't, I'm not being dramatic about this,
Sure.
but, I mean, I guess it all worked out.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. So you finally get home. This is day 7 or day 6 going into day 7. You kind of going in these waves. Did it feel like did you have just like, was your entire system just wiped? Like, did it feel like kind of like the previous, like you've had flu probably before, right? Did it, other than the uncontrollable coughing and shortness of breath, did it feel similar to that? Like just super wiped? Gotcha.
Yeah.
So how did you manage, like, so after day 7, you were still away from your kids. How much longer did you have to stay away from your kids? And then how'd you manage that?
It was another, I think, 4 days.
Wow.
My cousin that had my son Jamie, like, brought him to the window of my apartment.
Oh.
I literally, so like my cousins, the Kates and stuff, that they sent me tons of groceries and flowers and cards and games to play. And I had an aunt in Texas send me balloons. And the lady the lady who delivered the balloons, I was like, okay, just leave it at the door. And then I kind of peeked out my window and I waved to her, and she was like yelling through my do you have COVID? Yeah. My God, I'm so sorry. So he had been texting me and the Safeway manager so she could get my address because she couldn't find my apartment. And I kid you not, like 2 weeks ago, it's been like a month and a half or so. Month. And she texts me and she goes, hey, Cayse, this is the manager of Safeway. I was just thinking about you because I drive by your apartment all the time. Are you better yet?
What? Safeway customer service right there, coming in strong with kidding. Safeway.
Think about you all the time. I just want you to feel better. And I was like,
oh, great. That's awesome. Good job, Safeway.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dang. That's super impressive.
It is.
Yeah.
So so after you're feeling better, they say, okay, you've been well, first of all, I'm so glad that that's as bad as it was for you, Cayse. Like, obviously the shortness of breath, that's terrifying. And I think anybody that's experiencing severe shortness of breath should definitely go get seen at a hospital, right? But after that time, your 72 hours symptom free, did work say, okay, yep, just come back now. We'll just start like normal, go back to normal?
Well, kind of. So HRs have to get tested again to prove that you're negative before you come back to work. But my doctor's like, we're not doing that. Like,
oh, wow.
Yeah. He's like, we don't have enough tests to test people that had been tested positive. This is what infectious disease, like, this is what everybody's saying, is that once you're symptom free for 7 days and then an extra 72 hours, then you're better.
Okay.
So, so it took a couple of days for them to let me come back, and a couple of letters from my doctor. And, I rushed it.
Did you?
Yeah, I actually got diagnosed with PTSD going back to work. Going into the hospital, it was like more than mental. It's like I'd walk in the hospital and my knees would buckle. I just got really nauseous, and it was just affecting my body before I knew mentally that I was like, whoa, I'm actually really freaking scared to be here right now. Just It's face, asking questions, and I guess I didn't realize it. And so I talked to my doctor, and I'm like, I don't know what is happening to me, but I literally can't stay at work a full day. I'm getting sick. am just like sweating. I just look like I'm sick, and I feel fine. And he was like, we're going to get you in touch with, a therapist, and you guys are going to talk about it and stuff like that. And she's like, yeah, this is definitely a form of PTSD, and you need to see what your work is able to accommodate you with this. And
Right.
so, I work in a really, really busy clinic. The surgeon that I am assisting all the time is just like amazing, busy. People call him the God. He's just like, people are just constantly calling him for to ask questions, and he's just really busy. So, but my work was great. They have a clinic out in McMinnville with one doctor, and smaller clinic, not many patients. And so I started there, and I was there for a couple of weeks.
Gotcha.
To ease my way back into,
the craziness.
Oh my gosh, just people always in the hospital itself, it's just like the minute you walk in, do you have a fever? Do you have a cough? Do you have, and then they temperature, and I'm just like,
you just went through so much.
It was like, I already had it.
Yeah, you already had it. Totally.
Like,
oh man. So how does it feel having experienced this, having gone through literally the whole circle of being hospitalized and then actually having to, quarantine yourself away from family and then introducing yourself back into working as well? How does it feel when you see all of this kind of political debate going on about should we continue with social, conservative measures? Should we start opening things back up because people need to work? Do you feel inside like, okay, I feel more heavily in one way or the other, or do you feel like you understand both sides pretty well?
I think I understand both sides pretty well, but it's like, I get frustrated because, a lot of people's argument to this is either we're all going to get it, it's just the flu, it's, it's these things, because it's not. It's like, I'm a healthy 33-year-old.
30, young 30. I'm a healthy young 30.
I just turned 33, so sometimes I forget.
I get it.
It happened, and like, if you can save somebody who is going through chemo, or an older demographic of people, like, I don't understand why you wouldn't sacrifice a little bit for other people. But I also understand the economical side of things, like, we need to get things going, but I don't know. I can see both sides. It's hard. I feel like if you're going to fight that, opening things up, if you want it to happen so bad, just don't bring the medical side into your political side, because I know 3 doctors, so, and none of them are on Facebook, so
yeah,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a really healthy way of looking at it, as far as like understanding the economical impact that it's affecting people. You can't deny that. But at the same time, when people make arguments based on their research of the severity of the disease, that's when you start seeing a slippery slope. Because 99% of those people, they say, if you crunch the numbers, you're like, okay, well, your numbers that you're crunching are probably self-bias reinforced.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the numbers in and themselves just aren't valid at this point.
Yeah. Just don't talk about things that you don't know. That's like my...
Yeah.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah. So, but everybody, so now you're back to normal, back to fam, everything like that.
Yep.
Do you feel like you have energy again? Do you feel like you can function back to baseline?
Yeah, it took a while though. I feel like this month, the beginning of May, was like, okay, like, I'm back. Yeah, I can get up in the morning fine. I don't feel like I'm lagging at night. My energy levels are good. So yeah, I feel, but mentally and physically, I was more mental sickness as well, just because it takes a toll on you being that sick and then being secluded.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
I just didn't know it was going to affect me so much in that way.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think a lot of people, at least for myself, even consider the mental effects on people that have tested positive and from the isolation.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real uh, side effect of it as well. Not just the infectious issue, but the actual psychological impact on those. I mean, we see the anxiety and the panic attacks in people that are having concern about getting the infection, right? But the PTSD afterwards, that's an interesting thought. That's a good one,
It
Casey.
makes me wonder, like, how, like, those of us that have been secluded, maybe didn't test positive or anything, how it's going to be everyone going back. I mean, we've been to the grocery store, but that's like one thing. But like, I'm thinking like people going back to an office job or going back, just back to normal life. Like, how many people are going to be affected by that too, to some degree? I've been thinking about that a lot this week. Like, that's going to be weird.
Yeah, people are gonna be like super socially awkward. They're gonna be like, "Hi, how?" Oh, because you can't shake hands. You're like, no, okay, all right, cool."
Yeah. What do you do?
Super awkward.
Yeah, the elbow bumps or whatever. Yeah, super awkward. Yeah, so kind of crazy stuff. But Casey, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. It was very good for people to be able to hear, because in Oregon in particular, there's not an overwhelmingly large amount of people that have been infected and hospitalized compared to the East Coast. And so it's really good to hear somebody that's actually gone through that wild ride in our area and kind of be able to understand it better. So that's really cool.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Definitely. Okay, we're going to do some quick what we call shower thoughts.
Well, wait,
and
I want to show you something
TILs.
real quick that my dad showed me that's
Okay.
on this subject.
Okay.
So you guys will see it here in a second. He sent me this link. Maybe you've seen it, but there's a bar it's in Ocean City. Where did he say it was? It says in the article.
Ocean City.
Maryland.
That sounds like California.
It's Maryland. And
super close.
there won't be any sound on this, but that'll be fine. But look at this. Yeah, there's a video here. So, this is how they there's that's their solution. Yes. Yeah. So, and there's more. So like that's everyone going into the bar, but then they have like dancing. I actually almost didn't see this portion of it, but look at this. Yeah, they're like, and so they've got 6 feet between them, and yeah.
Kind of around them that are like basically cause the diameter of 6 feet around them.
Right.
That's funny, dude. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I mean, if my dad sends me a link, he took the time to type it. It probably took him 45 minutes. He's probably hearing me say that, but it's true. Anytime that guy sends me a message and it's had to have been typed, I feel like I have to really pay attention to it because I know it was a hunt and peck situation, and he went through so much to send me that.
Good job, Dad. Okay, Jordan, hit me with your TIL, and I'll show or I could start TILs.
Yeah, start TILs. I've got 2, and I think you have 2.
I have 2. All right, so today I learned the FBI has struggled to hire hackers because the FBI hiring rule that the applicant must not have used marijuana during the past 3 years. So like pretty much anybody, most of the populace of younger individuals have smoked cannabis at this point.
Yeah.
But
or like Michael Scott, where like they were exposed to it at a concert.
Yeah. But it's like, okay, what hacker is not going to have smoked cannabis in the past 3 years? So the FBI is like struggling to get somebody to hire.
That's similar
of that
to the army and the military, like relaxing some of the like PT laws for people who are in some of like security and all that kind of stuff. They're like, well, we know you can't do push-ups because you've been in your mom's basement for the last 25 years.
Yeah, that's a little different, but yeah.
Okay. So today I learned, and this blew my mind, that in the 1800s, Americans drank on average 90 bottles of whiskey per year, or 1.7 bottles per week. This was because at the time, whiskey was sold at 25 cents a gallon. making it cheaper than wine, beer, tea, coffee, and even milk.
Interesting. And it was kind of like a safe option, right? Because you don't have to worry about like there being like infectious issue with it. Yeah. Okay. This is interesting. Today I learned an outlaw isn't a mere criminal, but rather a criminal who has been sentenced to be outside of the protection of the law. Basically, that person has no right to trial and can be killed or persecuted by anybody. That's what the term outlaw meant.
Well, I guess that kind of makes sense.
So you're outside of the law.
Like if they're an outlaw and they're trying to rob a stagecoach, just shoot them on sight.
Yeah, you're outside the law, bro.
I'm for it. Okay, today I learned that those wounded while fighting in the French Foreign Legion can immediately apply to be a French citizen as they are French filled by blood.
Oh, that's dope. I like that. That's classy. It's a classy move. All right, couple shower thoughts and we'll end it here. Let's just do how many shower thoughts you got? Let's just do 3 each, okay?
All right.
So, super quick one. I never thought about this, but I think this is true. Basically, popcorn is a vegetable.
I disagree, but I understand.
It is.
I understand technically, but
think about it, corn. Popcorn's a vegetable.
I don't know. Corn's as much of a vegetable as the Southerners call macaroni a vegetable.
Okay, it's not a debate. Okay, popcorn's a vegetable. That's it. Okay. Hit me with yours.
Okay, blinking is plural of winking.
Ooh, it is. I like that. It's a good one. Interesting. Okay, if teeth kept growing out like hair, we would have tooth cuts, and shapes would go in and out of fashion.
That's true. That I guess
I need to go get a tooth cut. Guys,
I'll bet it would be like a filing.
Yeah,
like it'd be like fingernails. I don't know. They'd probably make like toothbrushes that were like sandpaper on both sides, and you just like, oh, that'd be gross. Yeah.
Let's be classy.
Let's not do
that.
All
right, hit me with one more. Hit me with one more.
Okay. People work really hard to invent things to increase laziness.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice. Well, okay. So, Casey, I'm going to have you hang on for a little bit real quick. Don't log out
yet. I have one more for you. It's just for you.
Okay.
Well, I mean, Casey can listen too, and so can everyone else who's here. This one was for you because I forgot it was here. The sense of hearing is wild. We can detect the air pressure changes caused by a paperclip hitting the floor from across the room.
That is really cool. Dude, that's deep. I like that. That's all from pressure changes in the air. Yeah, that's cool.
But we can sense that. That's so...
We can sense that force.
That's weird.
All right, guys. Thank you for listening to episode 62. Casey, you're amazing. Thank you for coming on short notice, especially.
Seriously,
and, guys, subscribe on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. And have a fan-freaking-tastic week.
Yeah, see you guys.